Did we really land on the moon? It's a question that sparked countless debates and fueled the imaginations of skeptics worldwide. The moon landing conspiracy theories are as fascinating as they are controversial. These theories suggest that the Apollo moon landings, which took place between 1969 and 1972, were nothing more than elaborate hoaxes staged by NASA and other organizations. The idea that 12 Apollo astronauts never actually set foot on the moon has been circulating since the mid-70s. These theories propose that NASA, in a bid to mislead the public, fabricated, tampered with, or even destroyed evidence, including photos, telemetry tapes, radio and TV transmissions, and even moon rock samples. Despite the existence of third-party evidence and detailed rebuttals to these conspiracy claims, these theories have managed to persist. In fact, surveys have shown that a significant percentage of people in various countries still believe that the moon landings were faked. So, why do these theories continue to exist, and what impact have they had on society? Let's dive into these theories and debunk them one by one. One of the most popular theories is based on the US flag planted on the moon. Now, you might have heard that in the moon landing footage, the US flag appears to be waving. This sparks intrigue, as there's no wind on the moon. So, how could the flag flutter? Well, here's where the magic of engineering comes into play. NASA anticipated this zero-wind lunar environment and came up with a clever solution. They used a horizontal rod to keep the flag extended. Now, when the astronauts were setting it up, they inadvertently caused a ripple effect that gave the illusion of the flag waving in the wind. Moreover, the moon's lack of atmosphere means there's no air resistance to stop this ripple effect, causing the flag to hold its waving position for longer than it would on Earth. It's all a matter of physics and clever design, rather than a Hollywood stage trick. So it's clear that the waving flag theory doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Another common theory revolves around the missing stars in the photographs. Many conspiracy theorists argue that the absence of stars in the images taken during the moon landings is a clear sign that they were faked. They contend that a legitimate lunar landing would have produced images filled with stars, considering the moon's lack of atmosphere and the clear, unobstructed view of space. However, this theory doesn't hold up when you consider the science behind photography. The astronauts' cameras were set to daylight exposure settings due to the bright sunlight on the moon's surface. This means the camera's aperture was too small and the exposure time too short to capture the faint light of the stars. Essentially, the stars were too dim, and the moon's surface was too bright for both to appear in the same photograph. Moreover, the astronauts were focused on documenting their exploration of the moon, not capturing the night sky. Their cameras were optimized for capturing details of the lunar landscape, not distant stars. Thus, the missing stars theory also falls apart when examined closely. A recent theory questions the mismatch between Armstrong's boot and the moon footprint. A curious claim, isn't it? This theory suggests that the footprint left on the moon's surface doesn't quite match the boot worn by Neil Armstrong. It's the kind of detail that on the surface might seem to cast doubt on the authenticity of the moon landing, but let's dig a bit deeper. This apparent mismatch was the result of the astronauts wearing lunar overshoes. These were special protective coverings worn over their smooth-soled boots. They provided the astronauts with the necessary traction for walking on the moon's surface and also protected their boots from the harsh, lunar environment. The overshoes had treads on them, which left distinctive marks on the moon's surface. And here's another interesting tidbit. These overshoes were left behind on the moon to save weight for the lunar samples the astronauts brought back to Earth. So, what seems at first like a glaring inconsistency actually has a perfectly logical explanation. Fact-checkers have thoroughly debunked this claim, and both NASA and the Smithsonian confirm the moon landing's authenticity. Armstrong's spacesuit, complete with the lunar overshoes, is even on display at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. This theory too has been debunked with credible evidence. It's another case of a conspiracy theory that, when examined closely, simply doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Some theorists question how the astronauts survived the Van Allen radiation belt. This belt, named after American space scientist James Van Allen, is an area of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind that is captured by and held around a planet by that planet's magnetic field. Now, this belt is indeed deadly, but not impenetrable. It's all about the route you take and the time you spend in it. NASA, being aware of the dangers, designed the Apollo mission's flight path to avoid the inner belt entirely, only passing through the thinner areas of the outer belt. Moreover, the astronauts didn't linger in the belt. They zipped through as fast as possible, spending only about 4 hours in these areas of higher radiation during their round-trip journey to the moon. So did the astronauts encounter radiation? Yes. Was it enough to be lethal? No, not even close. The dosage was well within their career limits for radiation exposure and didn't pose a significant risk to their health. Once again, science provides a logical explanation, debunking this theory. One of the more outlandish theories involves the moon rocks brought back to Earth. The Apollo missions returned with 842 pounds of lunar material, including rocks, core samples, pebbles, sand, and dust. The conspiracy theorists argue that these moon rocks were faked, perhaps made from Earth materials or even carefully crafted in a lab. But let's consider this. These lunar samples have been studied extensively since the late 60s by scientists worldwide. Not just NASA scientists, mind you, but independent researchers from various countries, some of which were even in competition with the United States during the Cold War. The unique nature of these rocks is undeniable. They contain isotopes that do not exist naturally on Earth and show evidence of formation in an environment with little to no atmospheric pressure, consistent with the creation on the moon. The rocks also bear the marks of intense cosmic radiation, the kind you'd expect from the surface of an airless world. Moreover, the lunar rocks match those brought back by the Soviet Lunar program, further solidifying their authenticity. And remember, the USSR would have loved nothing more than to expose a US moon landing hoax during the height of the Cold War. The moon rocks too stand as solid evidence of the moon landing. Finally, let's discuss the photos taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance orbiter. Launched in the late 2000s, this unmanned probe was tasked with mapping the moon's surface in high definition. And let's just say, it captured some rather intriguing images. We're talking about the most compelling evidence that debunks many moon landing conspiracy theories. These photos reveal the Apollo landing sites in remarkable detail. You can see the descent stages of the lunar modules, those base sections of the lunar landers that served as launch pads for the astronauts' return to orbit. But that's not all. The images also show the tracks left by the astronauts as they explored the lunar surface. These are not just random patterns in the lunar dust, they correlate perfectly with the paths the astronauts reported they took during their moonwalks. But here's the clincher. The Lunar Reconnaissance orbiter even captured images of the American flags erected on the moon during the Apollo missions. Yes, those flags are still there, standing as silent witnesses to one of humanity's greatest achievements. The exception is the flag from Apollo 11, which was blown over when the lunar module lifted off for the return to Earth. These photos provide undeniable proof of the moon landing. They show us that, yes, we did land on the moon. And yes, we left our mark there for all to see. So, after examining and debunking these theories, where does that leave us? We've taken a deep dive into some of the most persistent moon landing conspiracy theories, from the waving flag to the missing stars, the footprint mismatch, the daunting Van Allen radiation belt, and even the accusations of fake moon rocks. Each of these theories, while intriguing, crumbles under the weight of scientific evidence and logical reasoning. We've seen how experts have time and again debunked these theories, explaining the science behind the phenomena that seemed suspicious to some. The footprint mismatch was clarified by the fact that the astronauts wore lunar overshoes, with treads over their smooth-soled boots. The absence of stars in photos was merely a result of the camera settings used to capture the bright lunar surface. The flag, far from waving in a non-existent lunar breeze, was held up by a rod and appeared to move due to the astronauts' actions. Moreover, the physical evidence of the moon landing is overwhelming. The astronauts returned with moon rocks, unique in their composition and impossible to fake on Earth. The landing sites have been confirmed by multiple spacecraft, and the instruments left behind on the moon continue to provide valuable data even today. High-definition photos taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance orbiter have captured the descent stages of the lunar module and the tracks left by the astronauts. But beyond the evidence, it's important to consider the implications of these conspiracy theories. They emerged in a time of public distrust in the government and have been fueled by misinformation and a lack of scientific understanding. These theories persist because they offer a more exciting narrative than the reality, but they can also be dangerous, undermining public trust in science and spreading misinformation. In the end, it all comes down to critical thinking. It's always good to question, to be curious, and to seek the truth. But it's equally important to base our beliefs on reliable evidence and logical reasoning. The reality is that in July of 1969, humans achieved an incredible feat. They traveled through space, landed on the moon, and returned safely to Earth. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. While it's fun to entertain these theories, the evidence is clear. We did land on the moon,